Look, I don't know what your favorite sidearm is, or even if you have a favorite sidearm. Most people, when they think of close quarter combat, they go to one option and one option only, and that's a shotgun. But I'm here to tell you, Fool's Remedy is one of the funnest sidearms in the game. First up, guys, to get this sidearm, yes, you have to contribute to Iron Banner, complete the quest, get 25 kills with auto rifles and 25 kills with a sidearm, and one will drop in your inventory upon completing this quest. Then you can turn in tokens to get random rolls. Now, this sidearm falls into my favorite archetype of sidearms, and that is the Surus Rapid Fire. Full auto, deeper ammo reserves. You also get a slightly faster reload when the magazine is empty. Now, Fool's Remedy didn't just get reissued to us without some new traits, as you can actually receive this sidearm with both Iron Grip or Iron Gaze. We talked about this yesterday on Forward Path. By the way, if you haven't checked out that review, feel free to check that one out. We're going to essentially do the same exact thing today, showing a mix of gameplay here for both mouse and keyboard users and controller users, because these perks definitely seem to aid console users and controller users more than they do mouse and keyboard. Not that they don't help, but it's a noticeable difference for console users. So first up, let's just go through a few of my rolls here. One of my rolls, which was actually fantastic, great stability, great handling, even increased that aim assist, that control SAS sight, in combination with high caliber rounds for that increase there in flinch, hip fire grip, which may be something you like. I like hip fire on this sidearm because there is a lot of times I do just shoot from the hip. Although I will say its base default hipfire accuracy is really not all that bad. And next to it is Eye of the Storm. This weapon becomes more accurate and boosts handling as your health gets lower. A fantastic perk, one of those things, if you're taking gunfire and you meet that threshold where you're critically damaged, this is a perk that will really kick the stickiness of your weapon into overdrive. And if you can evade the shots just long enough, Eye of the Storm can actually be a perk that can get you out of a pickle and allow you to win that 1v1. Now, another roll that I got on this weapon, this one was more utilized at testing the new trait Iron Gaze, as everything else was kind of meh. The main thing is that Iron Gaze perk, which substantially drops our range. Matter of fact, giving us a range stat of 10, which I do believe is the floor here for Fool's Remedy. As in, I don't believe it can go any less than 10 range. So even though Iron Gaze is supposed to drop our range by -40, here inside of Destiny Item Manager, it's only dropping it by -29. Now, it substantially throws that aim assist up. I mean, we're talking a +20 aim assist, giving us a total value in combination with that tactic SAS sight of 83 aim assists, which is kind of crazy. The question is, considering how bad Iron Gaze kills that range, how much does this affect Fool's Remedy? When we actually sat down and started testing out damage fall off, this one starts to receive damage fall off at about 15 meters. Now, if I was to have a max range Fool's Remedy with rangefinder, which I do not have in front of me, but from just talks with other people with this roll, they were saying somewhere around 17.5 to 18 meters is when Fool's Remedy for them starts to experience damage fall off. Now, that may sound bad. Whoa, 15 meters versus 17.5, 18 meters? Isn't that pretty substantial? It's actually not. Not in comparison to, say, something like Forward Path. When we tested Iron Gaze yesterday on Forward, we outlined that the difference between range on both of those was almost a 10-meter difference, and at other points, 20 meters, depending on your roll. Even the most mediocre rolled Forward Path had 10 or more meters over a very well-rolled Forward Path with something like Iron Gaze. Obviously, this perk hurts some weapon archetypes more than others, and that's partly due to the floor that Bungie puts in place, not allowing that weapon to go into the negative range stat or even meet that 0 range threshold, and partly due to the archetype of the weapon, right? Even if this weapon had 100 range, obviously 100 range on a Surus Rapid Fire sidearm is not the same as 100 range on an auto rifle. These weapons are not only capped on the bottom end of their range stat, but they're also capped on the top end. At some point, you start to run into diminishing returns with your range stat on sidearms, or more notably, your Surus Rapid Fire sidearms. So, was Iron Gaze a trait worthy to go after? Fellas, when I say this weapon was sticky, like I said yesterday, Forward Path pretty much auto aim for you, but you had to keep your gunfights at least 25 meters or less. Fool's Remedy definitely has a steep cutoff. 15 meters, 16 meters, you want to stay within that range. And yes, you are entering dangerous territory. Fellwinter's is pretty much king when it comes to close quarter combat. But if you are just slightly good at baiting, just a tad bit evasive, Fool's Remedy here, especially with Iron Gaze, if you play controller, absolutely melts. And again, this really just comes down to the map, right? If you've got a map that's going to keep most of your gunfights pretty close quarter, but also has some openings allowing you to evade a little better, this little sidearm is absolutely disgusting. Looking at time to kill for this weapon, Fool's Remedy sits at a 0.67 TTK value at 5 crits in 1 body. No, it's not the best among sidearms. You still got adaptives, things like Drain that are a little better, Amelan adaptives especially. Fool's Remedy, though, has some forgiveness built in, not requiring all crits there in order to secure a kill. On top of that, it's just so spamtastic. Being 450 rounds per minute, allowing you to lay on the trigger and fire in full auto. All your concentration is being put into just making sure your reticle is staying on point and being slightly evasive. And if you got this weapon with something like Iron Gaze, which is throwing up that aim assist, as well as any of these number of perks in its sights, which just about all of them give you a +5 in aim assist, you're gonna have a weapon at all times pretty much aiming for you. And this is kind of a debate right now for myself because I just don't know. You know, yesterday I went into this going, hey, listen, let's get that moving target rangefinder combo. That's been deadly in the past for me. I used it on a Dead Man Walking way back when, and it was wonderful. And Dead Man Walking was a fantastic sidearm. Fool's Remedy pretty much beats Dead Man Walking in every single category outside of recoil direction, but that doesn't really matter. 94, hell, you're already almost max. For the most part, things are pretty vertical. But the way I look at this sidearm is kind of the way I looked at it yesterday with Forward Path. If you are a mouse and keyboard user, I still highly suggest the rangefinder moving target combo with a range masterwork and a range boosting perk, whether that's ricochet rounds, light mag, or high cal, pretty much any of these scopes that boosts the range. That's going to allow this sidearm to kind of stick around and do damage up to 18 meters, which will give you a slight edge over shotgun rushers. But if you are a console user, I just want you to try Iron Gaze out. I'm almost getting to the point where I'm thinking I'm crazy. I'm like, surely the weapon doesn't feel that good. Maybe it's just been a minute since I used controller and I just forgot how weapons feel on this input. But Iron Gaze on this sidearm puts this weapon in auto drive and allows it to lock down kills with ease. Now, part of me wanted to just kind of go overboard. What if you did Iron Gaze plus moving target together? Moving target is stated to give you a +10 static bump there in aim assist. What if? I mean, we're talking with a +5 aim assist from the sight, somewhere around like 98 aim assists if you say throw on a target acquisition mod. 98 aim assists with a sidearm. That already feels very sticky in its default form. So yeah, if you wanted to go completely overboard with aim assist, you can 100% do that. Let me know if you got that rope. Moving target, Iron Gaze. I just want to talk to you. Let me know how it feels. Overall, guys, I was very impressed with the sidearm. It's got poor reviews. There's a lot of people that don't like it, which kind of blows my mind because there's a lot of people that love Dead Man's Walking. These two are essentially clones of each other, and they both do solar damage. So if you are a fan of Dead Man's Walking, even the 2.0 version of it, and you're looking for a replacement for it, Dead Man is getting sunset next season, which leaves Fool's Remedy as a great substitution to that. As far as PvE goes, this weapon has a couple things going for it. 4 times the charm, Feeding Frenzy, Kill Clip. It's even got a subsistence perk on it. I don't really know which route I would go with this. You know, seeing subsistence on it makes me wish like Swashbuckler was on this thing, considering it's a sidearm, right? Go in there, get the melee off, get the ×5 rolling, and you start shredding everything and watch the weapon reload itself. I do have a pulse monitor roll, which I did test out, which got a buff this past season. Says that the weapon automatically reloads and improves weapon handling when critically wounded, even when the weapon is stowed. Problem is you got to play around and get critically wounded. One thing I did want to try though, would pulse monitor with that auto reload function activate something like Kill Clip? It does not, at least to my knowledge. I tested this out a couple of times. I would get a kill and then pretty much hit the critical zone. Pulse monitor would proceed to activate for us, but no, unfortunately, it did not activate Kill Clip. And that's kind of the same thing with things like Slide Shot and Slideways. I know Bungie wants you to actually reload the weapon, physically reload it in order to activate Kill Clip, but who the hell is using Pulse Monitor, right? Come on, Bungie. You gotta give it some slack. Now, something about Fool's Remedy, and you could probably tell from a lot of this gameplay, I'm just spamming out with it. I mean, that's pretty much what's happening here. I'm not really going for crits because the body shot time to kill for this weapon, if you were just to hit all bodies, is about 0.93 seconds. Really, guys, whether you're playing a mouse and keyboard or controller, just try to be as evasive as you can, and you'll be amazed how many people this sidearm can put down. I think the biggest comparison, I guess, for console users is not necessarily how well the sidearm does against other close quarter weapons like shotguns, but more or less how does the sidearm handle things in comparison to, say, something like Drain? Drain has been a popular weapon for console users quite some time, most notably because it has a 0.6 second time to kill at 4 crits, and they all have pretty crazy range. Like Drain, depending on your role, can have some very high range stats, and so can your other adaptive sidearms. So this kind of allows this sidearm to hang, not necessarily in the mid-range, but essentially last word range and beyond, right? And I mean, we saw this same thing play out back inside of Destiny 1 when sidearms were terrorizing everyone in Year 3. You kind of got a similar situation, but not that overboard because special weapons are still present. It's hard for me to say that Fool's Remedy would ever replace something like Drain for you. It's good, but even with the most perfect role that's really optimized to deal with opponents at range, it's still going to be beat out by things like Drain and other adaptives especially. To me, I think the main comparison for Fool's Remedy would actually be like, would you rather use a Surus Rapid Fire Sidearm or an Amelon Adaptive? Both of which are very good. And some people would say Amelon Adaptives is superior, and they are quite spammy. But Fool's Remedy, to me, has an edge over Amelon Adaptives. My only complaint about Fool's Remedy is I feel like it could have had better roles for, say, something like PvE. Like, I really do want a swashbuckler sidearm within this archetype. We don't have one, or at least in my knowledge. But that running and gunning combo with this archetype is perfect. Rock it with the melee-based build, we could have been really cooking with fire. Currently, right now, though, I do recommend Fool's Remedy for PvP. Just understand its limitations as a sidearm, especially given the archetype. But practice with it, get used to baiting with it. For my console users and controller users, try out Iron Gaze, and who knows, you might have just now found your new meta weapon. Well, fellas and ladies, thank you all for coming and watching, and as always,
slap that like button like your mama told you right.